Hola class, how we doing? Happy Monday. As we get back, we are on week 3, social proof. Believe it or not, we are almost 50% done our class. Kind of crazy, isn't it? Another quick reminder, we're 50% done our class. I hope we're keeping track with our Made to Stick book. That book report is coming up and it is due rather soon if I'm not mistaken. Please double check your syllabus. So far, we've done 3 of the 6 principles from Cialdini. Reciprocity, in my opinion, is still the most powerful of the 3 that we examined. I would say social proof is the second most powerful. Now, there's nothing wrong with commitment and consistency. They are very strong stuff. The problem with commitment and consistency is that's not a short-term thing. It's not something that can be done quickly. It's not something that's easy to put into a top 6 list, which we're going to get to in a second. So reciprocity, social proof, commitment, and consistency is where my head's at the moment. So let me see if I can answer some of your questions here. Mr. Kenneth starts off with regards to a social proof outside of an emergency, what do you think is the speed of response to a market change such as housing when an individual sees the behaviors of others that they perceive to be like or to copy? I like in the chapter, and Kenneth also put this in his topic talk, this social proof really is monkey me, monkey do. When we talk about macroeconomic stuff, such as the housing market, the economy, jobs, these social proof type activities cannot happen that fast. And even if one individual starts flipping houses because they perceive that the market is better, it still takes a while for a number of other individuals to follow suit. This is not like social media where something can go social proof viral in 18 hours. It's just, that's a lot of social media is not a macroeconomic activity. Housing is more of a macroeconomic activity. These things take longer to social proof themselves, so to speak. Alexis asks, are commercials that use social proof by showing taste tests or comparisons from random people on the street still effective? In a sentence, hell yeah. And I would say that a very large percentage of commercials still do social proof. Even if it's not a taste test or an individual with a mic on the street asking questions, there's still the fact that you're seeing someone do something that's providing proof that they would want you to mimic it. So if Febreze is doing an ad and all they're doing is showing a mom and dad fixing some smells in the house or the garage, then guess what? That's a social proof. Do most people realize that only the answers that show up on advertising brand is in the best light are used in these commercials, or do people still fall for it? Oh, people still fall for it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, broadly speaking, let's talk a little bit more in depth about social proof. When are social proofs more effective? Usually social proofs are more effective when people don't have the time, money, energy, but more important, knowledge to do the work themselves to figure out the best possible option to get something done. A social proof is a shortcut. If you're uncertain, guess what? If you're on vacation and you're in a foreign country and you don't know what to do and you see other people doing something, you're in a position of uncertainty, you're more inclined to go for the social proof. If you're in an area of, you're not, with an attorney, doctors, mechanics, you might go along with something that seems more certain if you're extremely uncertain. Mr. Joe, how can social proof be authenticated in social media to avoid false data that can be misleading when you're trying to determine what a product or service to choose based on reviews that may or may not be planted? This is very challenging. There are a few debunking sites out there and blogs that actually do the work or the groundwork for you to see if something is in fact true or not true. One of the interesting things that social proof works better in social media is social media is a medium about speed. Twitter is extremely fast. A retweet, anything happens within 5 minutes shows up on Twitter. But even something like Facebook, which is usually more of an 18 to a 24-hour cycle, this is still pretty fast. And if you go with speed, and social media has the tools that make it easier for speed, likes, clicks, forwards, retweets, then it's so easy to just continue with the social proof. Now, related to the question above, Alexis's question, are clacker techniques still used by today's brands? Hell yeah, are they used? My God, celebrity endorsements. We have shills. We have, the way commercials are set up with how the people look and the situation. I mean, this is a clacker technique. Think about Miss Kim Kardashian, okay? She gets paid, and it's pretty much an open secret. You can do a search, and she's done it. There's been articles in Business Week and such. She gets about $10,000 a tweet. I would call her a clacker. And she's not the only one. Think of all the people on Twitter that buy their followers. They're clackers. Tiffany didn't have as much as a question. She had a comment. I threw it up here because this is one of my favorite classes of all time. I created this class. We all had it at least a lot of us in this class had it last semester. It's my MBA Interactive Marketing / Direct Marketing / Social Media / Web 2.0 course. So Tiffany comes in and, summarizes a little bit about her article and how it fit in with our previous course. Now, Tiffany and Felicia picked the same article from Forbes or Fortune, one of those two. The link to the article, I believe, is in Felicia's post. And the article is the 6 most important ways to generate and use social proof to increase online sales. It's a fantastic article. You guys should go into Tiffany and Felicia's posts to see their topic talks and make comments on them. But real quick, I cut and pasted this from Felicia's article because it was here in a list to talk about the things that were in the topic talk. Customer ratings and reviews, social shares and likes, trust symbols, video testimonials, celebrity endorsement, and of course, public relations. Now, Felicia's question. In situations where it's hard to tell if a testimonial or a review is authentic, do you think social proofing pushes us to believe that it's true? Well, what happens is like I said earlier, you don't know if a testimonial or review is authentic or not. Studies on Amazon have anywhere between a third and up to about 45 to 50% of the reviews on Amazon are shills or clackers, if we want to call it that. Do you think at this point we have all learned that these types of tricks and are more hesitant to fall for them? I think people are savvy enough to know that in the wild, wild west of social media, you can't necessarily believe everything that you read. But even if something is a shill and you're uncertain and that's all that you have to go with, then guess what? You might go with it anyway. And the social proof still might persist. Or if you're in a rush, you might, not do your due diligence to do the work. And investigate if something is really true or not. There is an awful lot of complaint right now that's happening in the journalism space, that the gray lady of the New York Times versus the blog sphere, so to speak, people who blog. At what point these worlds for the last 10 years have been coming together, where the New York Times of the world have been doing things to be more blog-like. I was just on ESPN prior to working on this video, and they have a 38 something, and basically it's ESPN doing more blog-like stuff. Sports Illustrated has more blog-like stuff. You know, these worlds are coming together. But what happens is there's a fine line between getting the post up so everybody can read it and being timely, and still doing your due diligence to fact check. Most bloggers do not fact check. And the difference, I think, between a blogger and a journalist is not the medium, it's how much due diligence they put into their post. Lynn asks, you know, towards the end of most of our chapters in this book, Dr. Cialdini gives us defense mechanisms. And there was 2. You need to be sensitive to find, you know, evidence that, you know, fact check basically. And 2, a recognition that the actions of similar others should not be the sole basis for our own decisions. You know, you really have to do your homework. But sometimes, even more frequently, it is the idea that we do not act as a copycat. And we would be discriminated and hostily treated that makes us follow the majority behavior, even though we thought we realized both. How do you solve this problem? So in other words is, sometimes you know that this fashion trend is bad, but you follow it anyway because everybody else is and you don't want to be ostracized. Sometimes you're in a meeting and you have this gut feeling that this idea and it's not a good one and everybody else really wants to do it and you kind of go with the flow because you don't want to be the thorn that sticks out too far, the nail that sticks up too high, you know. The only thing I can suggest is you know, it depends on really how badly you believe in something, you know. Is it something you want to fight for or not? Is it worth the trouble? If it's worth the trouble, then guess what? Then be discriminated and be hostilely treated. If it's not worth the trouble, then let it go. I mean, most of the time, we try to use data to determine whether something is a good idea or not. Well, if you can provide data and make a case for something, they try to change other people's ideas, basically throwing a social proof at them. Because social proof really is data. Sometimes it's good data, sometimes it's bad data, but the stronger the data, the stronger the proof. Ahmed asks, would it be fair to conclude that trends such as healthy eating are basically built upon social proofs? I wanted to have a little discussion of trends and fads with regards to Ahmed's questions here. Because usually what happens is people that don't want to make their own decision and people that want to go along with the group and don't want to buck the system, social proofs are easy, you know. So all of a sudden, if someone's saying, oh, eat as much bacon as you want, it's the carbs that are killing you, then guess what? You stop eating carbs. Because you don't want to do the real work and become a nutritionist to find out the best diet. You're looking for a shortcut. You're looking for a short-term solution. And so stuff like GF, Paleo, Atkins, these are powered by fad-like tendencies. You know, no one talks about Atkins anymore. Try to find someone talking about Atkins right now. We're talking about Paleo now, right? Right? Gluten-free is more of a health thing, but, you know, some people are treating it as, okay, let me just do gluten-free because everybody else is doing it. Again, as I started this module, social proof can be a shortcut. And if people don't really want to put the work in to lose weight or really eat healthy, it's easy to follow the social proof and to follow the fad. The problem is that it's only a fad. It's not sustaining. Atkins is not sustaining. It wasn't sustaining. It did not sustain. It was a fad, like the other umpteen million healthy eating fads before it. And what we really want is trends, not fads. Leah. In the case of Victoria and others like her, people have a tendency to donate funds, almost to an extreme amount. Some do, yes. In my mind, this is the opposite of the bystander effect. Like the Kitty Genovese, is that her name? I want to get the name right. On pages... Genovese. Catherine, not Kitty. Catherine Genovese. Okay. Which is this pluralistic ignorance that no one went to help, wherein the degree of personal responsibility increases for this. Is there a term for this? I think this is the chapter. I think this is a social proof. If the pluralistic ignorance, if no one around is helping, you're not going to help, even if you think you should help. That's the pluralistic ignorance. No one else is doing it. But if someone steps up, someone else will step up too. I kind of think of it as, and please forgive me for the example, but it's really an example. 9/11, we had a flight that was over Pennsylvania that got diverted because someone there was no pluralistic ignorance on that plane. More than one person. Multiple people. And as soon as one person said they were going to do something, other people joined in. It was the social proof in a positive way as opposed to pluralistic ignorance. Now, this is the part of the question that maybe Leah can elaborate a little further in on the comments section. I'm not sure about this. Is the feeling of responsibility somehow heightened because of the anonymity of being online? I don't think so. I really don't. Usually what happens with social proof is you want some credit for it. I don't know if anonymity is part of this in any way. I really don't. I think you want... That's my gut reaction, but maybe the class can find some harder detail here. There's certainly nothing in the text about this. But I have a feeling that anonymity is not part of it. Praveen asks, I do not understand how the number of non-commercial airplane fatalities and the number of motor vehicle fatality relates to a suicide story. Can you please explain this? Is it strongly related to insurance scams? The insurance companies have nothing to do with this. This is a broad social psychological phenomenon. And really, we have nice detail here. This is the Werther effect. Where is my Werther effect? Starts on 122, 123, 124. I'm sad to say I was just reading an article this weekend in Philadelphia Magazine. There was a suicide at University of Pennsylvania with a high-achieving freshman in January. By the end of the semester, there were 3 more. This effect is real. And what happens is that you kind of get this, and it's horrible to say it this way, a social proof gives you the permission to do something. Well, if you're thinking suicide and someone else does suicide, it gives you the permission to do something you may be thinking of, or you're kind of sitting on the fence, but someone gave you the social proof for it, and you go through with it. Bad. And what happens is you have people make mistakes after that. You hear of airplane challenges, you hear of car crashes, you hear of something, and then all of a sudden, you subconsciously commit to it. You become a little more careless. You say, oh, it's inevitable. Something, you don't do the due diligence to do your homework to make sure you're not making any mistakes. I don't think it has anything to do with insurance claims. It is the Werther effect, and it's a very strong, sometimes deadly effect. Gisela. With pluralistic ignorance and groupthink being such powerful forces, they are very powerful forces, I agree. That human empathy and common sense can be easily overshadowed by the phenomena. Agreed. Would the incentive of providing a reward be strong enough factor to shift society into making the right decisions? Let me finish this. For example, would the prospect of a perpetual reward have been strong enough to entice one of the witnesses to call the police in Catherine Genovese's case? It doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary reward. It could be a social reward. It could be the fact that you're doing the right thing. It could be that pat on the back. It could be the, something along the line. There's nothing wrong with rewards. But I think it's, instead of a reward, pluralistic ignorance and social proof is a social phenomenon. Okay? It happens to be a negative social phenomenon. Right? We could create positive social phenomenons. If something is very simple as, we went in a Smash Burger the other day. Smash Burger is a burger joint, more upscale than McDonald's, of course. Sort of like a Panera kind of quality, but still quick service food. At the end of our checkout, the hostess said, "Thank you for Smart Burger. Could you please take care of your trash on your table before you leave?" And what happens is that request, which again, reciprocity, we agreed to, commitment, consistency, then we see everyone else around us doing that same thing. That's the social pressure that gives us the social proof. That is the, I don't know if you would call it a reward, to shift the culture within that restaurant to take care of your own trash. And I think there really wasn't any social norms with this case. The social norm in this particular neighborhood, in this particular New York City, was to keep to yourself. You were safe in your apartment, you mind your own business. Those were the social norms that led to this pluralistic ignorance here. Carla, do social proof is so powerful that individuals ignore common human sense to help someone in critical need, like witnessing someone being raped or assaulted? How do you avoid being so subconsciously affected by social proof when the outcome could be negative? Well, I hate to say it, it's something as simple as think. Social proof allows us not to think. And how can I have one of these things without referring to a book? Nobel Prize guy, Daniel Kahneman, he talks about the brain. There's System 1 and there's System 2. System 1 is the rapid fire, instant cognition, assess the type of situation. If a tiger is coming at me, you know to run. Operates on very much a subconscious level. System 2 is the deep thinking, cognitive, problem solving type part of your brain. And we operate on this System 1, quick thinking, knee-jerk reaction, and deep thinking. We have System 1 and we have System 2. The problem is System 2 is very lazy. System 2 does not want to put the work in. You have to force System 2 to turn on. Social proof is a System 1. It's so easy. There's no cognitive energy. System 2 requires cognitive energy. In order to avoid this, you have to move from System 1 to System 2. You have to input. You have to push yourself to use System 2 and to think and to evaluate pros, cons, what would I do, da-da-da-da-da. You don't go with the social proof. Okay, Mr. Chris. okay, do you believe of what led to the pluralistic ignorance, and that the belief that if no one is concerned, then nothing is wrong? I find it hard to believe that it has always been this way. Traditionally, what has been done to reverse it? I think we kind of beat this one up a little bit. I think we're good there, based on other Topic Talk comments, questions that we've had here. And Dr. Dano asked, how do decisions made by the Boy Scouts of America hurt them in terms of regards to social proof? Are the Boy Scouts of America close to being more inclined to follow the lead of a similar individual? Those are for scouting, than a dissimilar one as opposed to scouting. Well, the Boy Scouts of America have to decide what their new social norm is going to be. And that new social norm will provide future social proof to what the Boy Scouts of America should be. I mean, even without the last 2 to 3 years of what the Boy Scouts of America is, the Boy Scouts of America of 2002 was not the Boy Scouts of America of 1952. They have changed and they have evolved. They have new social norms. And those social norms turn into social proof. So we'll see how they're doing. We'll see how they're doing. Okay. Mr. Daniel. The article only mentions the positive effects of the power of the people can have for brands through social media, such as Instagram. Do you think this type of strategy can backfire? Oh, yes, it can backfire. For example, a brand launches a campaign based around a certain demographic. However, their effects end up attracting a different consumer not in line with their original strategy. It seems that this is probably just bad or unlucky segmenting, targeting, and positioning. But I can think of multiple examples, and some of them I can't say here out loud, where a company screwed up royally. It seems that if something is left to social media, there's very little control on where and who it will spread to. Oh, yes. Let's come up with a quick example that I was just thinking of. I don't know if you guys heard of this or not. So, let's find out where it is. Here we are at the movies. Music news. Here we go. Mr. Blurred Lines. So Robin Thicke, who's having himself a little PR challenges on his behavior and his mistreatment of his wife and divorce and all the such, he went on VH1 with VH1 and decided to do a hashtag Ask Alan Thicke Twitter chat. Thinking that, let's just have this fun fan thing and we can have all the fans ask Alan Thicke, that's the dad, Robin Thicke, some interesting questions. But, oh my God, did this backfire. As wise people say, don't ask questions if you don't want to know the answer. Robin Thicke and the team at VH1 learned that lesson the hard way Tuesday when the hashtag Ask Thicke created a Twitter Q&A session with the singer backfired in a big way. Users of the site flooded the microblog site with biting criticisms of his music, his treatment of women, and particularly his wife. Being a World Cup guy is, do you think Tim Howard can save your marriage? Y'all knew that Alan Thicke was going to be a disaster. Twitter is, it's, to go back here, social media is a bottom-up medium. The crowd has a lot to do with it. This Ask, Thicke, hashtag VH1 thing, this was a top-down type idea. Usually when something blows up on social media like this, is they're doing a top-down idea in a bottom-up world. And the crowd loves it, eats it up, and goes ballistic. Not that long ago, Jamie Dimon, the current CEO of the big financial firm, it's Citibank. He's one of the big guys that was with the financial meltdown. He did JP Morgan. they decided to do something. Ask Jamie, and they did it on Twitter. And hey, Jamie, can you give me my 401k back? Hey, Jamie, can you give me my house back? It was bad. It was very bad. Mr. Travis, can a business or a political figure use the principle of social proof to discredit or talk down a rival or opponent? Is this strategy as effective as using the principle to champion its own products or service or campaign as outlined in the text? Absolutely, positively. Social proof can work positively. It can work negatively. Social proof works really well when people are indecisive. We talk about political figure, and let me do a quick search. Yep, didn't take that. So this happened in running up to, I guess it was the 1988 presidential election. Dan Quayle was the vice. This was during the vice presidential debate between Lloyd Bentsen and Dan Quayle. And Lloyd Bentsen delivered probably one of the top 10 zingers in all-time debates. Senator, and you're no Jack Kennedy, was basically a political figure using a social proof to discredit or talk down an opponent. And it was crushing, basically, to the point where it has its own Wikipedia page. And if we go back here, there's plenty of YouTube videos on it. So if you want to watch it, you can watch it. Oh, look at it says. It says it one of the top 10 all times. Top 10 memorable debate moments. It's number 5 of 10. See, I didn't even have to do that. There we go. One last thing to end up with here, to wrap up our video session for the week. Beyond social media, one of my other areas of expertise is principal selling and sales management. So this class comes out of that. You know, I have a big, strong salesperson background and interpersonal communication kind of stuff. So when you have a prospect that is indecisive, you know, one of the top 3 techniques you can give them is proof. Usually third-party proof. You know, independent, third party. So you don't know what car you should buy? Well, let me just show you Consumer Reports, and they'll tell you that this car is one of the top 10 you could buy, period. Well, that's a proof. That's a third party. That's like a social proof. And guess what? It's very persuasive when someone is indecisive. Okay? If you have any questions, please shoot me email. I'm going to look into your comments here and there, and since we're halfway through, I need to start seeing how we're doing here. Maybe get some grades out and some thoughts on how we're doing here. Have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks.